There's been so many hunts where I've gone on where I've walked out empty-handed, but I still have a smile on my face because I know that I tried 100% from the first day to the last day.
You're listening to The Last Easy Mile, a show for men who know there's more waiting but aren't sure where to begin. I'm Josh Farahi. Whether it's carving out space for adventure, being a more present and intentional father, reconnecting with your physical edge, or rediscovering a forgotten skill, this podcast is about moving from stuck to in motion. Each episode explores that in-between moment, right before the leap, when the excuses run out and something real needs to begin. We cover fatherhood, work, faith, creativity, and what it means to keep showing up, especially when no one's coming to rescue you. Welcome to The Last Easy Mile. Let's walk it together. Josh Kirchner, you're an outdoor writer, you're a hunter, a filmmaker, a content creator, really best known for helping adults, especially those who didn't grow up in hunting is kind of the vibe I got,
Mhm.
find their way back into the world of backcountry hunting. Um, so you're kind of a part of a growing movement of self-taught outdoorsmen who
Yeah.
discover hunting later in life. You run a popular platform called Dialed In Hunter, which includes a blog, you have a YouTube channel, social media, focus on storytelling, gear reviews, hunting education, and personal growth. Um, the movies that I've at least some of the stuff I've seen on YouTube, um, really high quality stuff. I mean, like
Thank you.
how do you get that how do you get that stuff out there at such high quality?
I mean, it's just time, it's just extra time, to start from the beginning of that, we use some pretty awesome equipment. I have a camera guy that will fly in or drive to wherever I'm heading. If he can't come, I'll self-film and I'll just film myself. But I mean, ahead of the hunt, we have a storyline and a lot of times things change during a hunt and a new story will
Naturally,
kind of
yeah.
pop up. And that's kind of what happened this during this past spring bear hunt we did in Idaho. Like I was originally I had this story lined out about just I was gonna express why I have grown so connected with bear hunting for years,
Hmm.
to try to inspire other people to try it out. But in doing so, this total side thing, I was recording these little videos for my daughter on my phone to kinda so she could watch them when I got home,
Sure.
and he was filming that every now and then, and I'm like when I got home and I started editing, I'm like, that's the story. It's
Right.
like this, like, almost like not a collision, sharing 2 loves, together, they're kinda
Makes sense.
colliding, and so that's so in that case, it's like, the story kinda changed a little bit, but we try to have all that stuff lined out ahead of time so we have some direction, so we're not just filming willy-nilly, know?
Hmm.
Try to have some pre-written questions and stuff that I can answer just to kinda support. I think having, like, impactful audio, talking head parts just helps move stories along better. And then aside from that, it's just effort in the field of, "Okay, we gotta get this shot, like, I need to walk across this spot right here." And that might mean that, like, I might have 80 pounds on my back,
Hmm.
with, like, a bear or something like that, and it's like, "No, we
Yeah.
gotta do it again." And
Oh man.
that's what we're just willing to do because the end product is just so much worth it, like, you only get one chance at it when you're out there,
Yeah.
so it's like you need to do all you can, and the more that we've embraced that, like, getting back to the trailhead at 2 in the morning and just like because everything just takes a little bit more time, the more rewarding we've found that it is, and
Yeah.
it
I
just
mean,
helps
you can't.
tell a better story, so
Sure, you can't fake that stuff, man. I mean, when you're out in the
no.
woods carrying an animal on your
Yeah.
back, it's hard enough to do it when you're not trying to put a good product out. So kudos to you, man. That's hard work. So, Josh, tell us, like, you started later in life, so maybe tell us your journey through hunting. I think, what I want to highlight. discussing with you is, there's a lot of folks. I kind of bifurcate people into two categories when we're talking about this topic. People that enjoy the outdoors, lean into it, whether it's hunting, fishing, camping, and then there's the folks that just don't,
Mhm.
and think about it and want to do it. And so I want to use my time on this podcast and especially on this episode to get people off their ass to finally do something that they've been thinking about doing. And I think your story um, really, really, is an inspiration for that. So, I'll let you tell kind of your background and how you got into hunting.
Fortunately, a lot of people you mentioned, they're getting into hunting later in life. Fortunately, I did have a dad. Still, he's still alive. I got a dad that got me into hunting when I was a kid. How that kinda laid out was it was just kind of an annual deer camp type of situation. It wasn't
Hmm.
like nowadays, I'm like I feel like I'm hunting almost year round now, like, I'm like, "What can I" like, turkey season? Let's go. You bear? Let's go. I wanna go and learn everything. But when I was a kid, it was really just this once a year thing, and I looked forward to it every single year. It was one of my favorite times a year. So my dad is really the one that planted that seed in my head long ago, just the outdoors in general. We did a lot of fishing, camping, stuff like that, and I always wanted to be out there doing stuff. I remember when I was, 10 years old, I wanted to be a professional bass fisherman. That was my
Hmm.
career that I had in my head. When I think I was early 20s, might have been mid 20s. I really you get to that age and you start to realize how big the world is.
Right.
And, so I was like, "Man, I can go hunting by myself," like because up
Yeah.
until that, I always went with my dad. It was like a me and dad thing.
Sure.
But I really wanted to learn and expand my knowledge more on hunting and hunt different species. We only hunted deer, did a little bit of bird hunting every now and then, quail and dove, but, big game was only deer. So I just started going out, and I had no idea at all what I was doing. For some
Jeez.
far-fetched reason, I picked black bears to really dive into.
Right.
Um, it was, when I was a kid, me and my dad saw a bear when we were driving down the road, and the way that that thing moved just so effortlessly through the ridiculously rugged country that
Right.
was in front of us, intoxicating to see that, and it was so far removed from deer, a bear is so striking to see in the wild, and I think that's really what kinda latched me onto them maybe was it was like they were kind of an iconic animal to me and, like, represented everything wild in my eyes, so I was like
Right.
I had this habit of trying to learn really hard things.
Going out into the woods with little experience hunting bears, uh, really without a guide or without someone teaching you the ropes is batshit crazy with all due respect, and I mean that in a good way. For those that don't understand, you're out in the middle of nowhere, and you've never tracked an animal, don't know where they're hiding, don't know what gear to take. It's bananas to go out and do that. So that's unbelievable.
But to me, like, the only way I've ever known how to learn anything and get good at anything in life is to just put my nose down and immerse myself in it and just
Sure.
do it, okay? And you're gonna feel stupid in the beginning when you don't know anything, but that's where everyone starts, and that's
Right.
okay, right?
Sure.
Everyone's gotta start somewhere. So, I remember going out every single week scouting, just trying to I would take notes in my phone, I would take notes, like, back in the day when we actually used pens and
There's a pet.
papers, I
That's
would
right.
d I would do that, okay? Just trying to learn everything I could. I was on forums a lot, hunting forums, trying to ingest any kind of information that I could, and, slowly but surely, I started kinda putting things together. Throughout that process, though, I had a lot of friends that wanted to hear about all this.
Mhm.
Like, I was going on, like, multiple lunches a week and coffee dates and stuff like that because my friends wanted to
Sure.
hear about, like, this trip that I went on and everything. So it got me thinking, and I was like, "Man, I wonder if I should, like, start a blog," and just
Right.
kinda and have, like, this online journal to document my journey, really diving into hunting and learning, trying to just be the best hunter that I could be. So that's where Dialed In Hunter started. It was because of that. is because I just and it wasn't like I was not trying to, make a living. Like, that was not the goal there. I really it was really just for myself to have something to look back on, to reflect on, successes and failures and stuff like that, to maybe help elevate my hunting game even further down the road.
Right.
Um, w in doing that, I didn't realize that, but apparently there were some editors that were reading my blog that I had no idea about. The internet is a wild
Really?
place, so
Interesting.
I ended up, after 3 years of trying, I finally got my first bear, and the
Wow.
editor of Bear Hunting Magazine, at the time was Clay Newcomb, and he reached out to me, and he was like, "Hey, do you wanna write a story on your bear? I think that's really awesome." I was like, "Yeah, dude,
Huh.
absolutely." And he goes, "Yeah, I could pay you X amount of dollars or give you X amount of free years of Bear Hunting Magazine." And I was like, "Wait a minute, you wanna pay me to
You're
write
gonna
about
pay me?
hunting?"
Wow.
So that was the first one, man. That was the first, like, he gave me the cover, I got the cover shot on that
No
magazine,
way.
I got the article, and ever since then, the writing thing, just kinda snowballed, and I think that was almost 10 years ago at this point, but, like, it just kinda snowballed to the point where, fast forward through a lot of trials and tribulations, it got to the point where I just couldn't handle doing my regular job and doing the hunting stuff.
Sure.
And I remember it was a year COVID hit when I decided I can't do this anymore. I had a child, my first child coming, and I needed to figure some stuff out, because I was a roofer for 15 years. Work kinda dropped off the map once COVID hit, because 95% of our clientele was senior citizens. So they didn't
Mhm.
want
Yeah,
they
they
didn't
don't want
want us
anything
up
to do
on
with
their
you.
roof.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, they didn't want anything to do with me. So, I was like, "Well, I got this writing thing, I've been doing this, and gonna look forward and never look back." And I just did that. I finished the book and just hit the ground running, and, I haven't roofed since. This has been what I do. Throughout that time, all the content that I create, I the goal was always to be incredibly transparent, because I wanted to feel reachable to new hunters. I didn't want them to feel like they were to have to be intimidated or something like that to come talk to me. I wanted them to ask me the quote unquote stupid questions, because I had a lot of those. And there
Sure.
wasn't a lot of people out there willing to answer them when I was starting. Hunting, it's gotten better, okay? But back in the day, like, people were real tight-lipped about stuff.
Sure.
Like, real tight-lipped. And it's like, "Dude,
Absolutely. Yeah.
I'm not asking you to tell me the exact canyon the bears are in, but goodness gracious, like, maybe, like, can we talk about, like, what food they're eating and stuff like that?" Like, and it's
Yeah.
kinda like
Yeah.
pulling teeth getting information. So, my whole thing with what I do is, like, I wanted to be approachable, but also I wanted to let you know that, "Dude, so you went out and you didn't see any deer? That's normal."
Normal, right? Right.
Like, when I was a kid watching hunting television, you would watch a 27-minute show, 25-minute show, and, like, 5 bucks would die.
Yeah, yeah. It's like watching, soccer highlights.
Yeah, and then you go in the and then, like, I would go in the field for a week and not get anything, and I'm like,
Uh,
Do I just really suck at this? Like, what is going on?" It's
right.
like, "No, you don't actually. What's going on this is just how things go." You
Yep.
know? So,
It's,
I've witnessed a lot of people get very discouraged, new hunters, through that,
mhm.
because they're like, "What am I doing?" Because you have all these things go through your head, right? Like, "What am I doing out here?" You know what I
Right.
mean? Like, this is
Yeah,
this is this
absolutely.
is
Yeah.
silly goose stuff, I should be at home working, spending time with my family, blah, blah, blah. But
Yeah, that's the thing. You could go out in the woods, and hike for hours and hours and not see an animal,
oh, yeah.
and that psychologically, you're spent, you're beat up,
Mhm.
you're hungry, you may be cold, and then, it's like, "Damn, I didn't even see anything." And so
Yeah,
there is a mental aspect to this, which is probably
100%.
the biggest aspect of hunting. But that's what makes it so great, right? Because
Yeah.
it's a challenge, I mean, it's a special experience where you're going out, you're hunting for something that is gonna put food on the table. It's
Mhm.
also an amazing experience to get out and be out. When I go out into the and I don't go that often. I wish I had more time to go. I've been on several hunts. The most recent, I went up to British Columbia and shout out to South Slope Outfitters and Lael Brewster up there. They took really good care of us. We were hunting elk.
Oh,
We were
cool.
up there for a week, okay, and we were, like, in rough, beautiful, beautiful country, but, like, we were climbing and climbing and climbing and climbing. We were there for 7 days,
Mhm.
during the rut, and I didn't see one elk.
Yeah.
We didn't even see one, but it was
Yeah.
such a beautiful experience because I'm testing myself physically, I'm testing myself mentally, and it was just such a wild adventure. But and then the next week, he sends me a photo of Lael Brewster, who's the owner of the outfitter up there. They like, on the first day, they shot 2 elk, and
Yeah.
it was a bummer, but that's hunting, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, that's the truth, and I think that that is really hard, for newer folks to absorb and accept. You know, the lives we live today is very instant gratification, right?
Yep.
Like, we like, we can like,
Yep.
you can like, I've always said it's so funny, like, you can literally, like, sit on your couch and order all of your Christmas presents right from your phone.
Right.
Not
Right.
You don't even have to get up.
So, yeah,
You
yeah,
don't even have to get up, you know?
yeah.
So, with hunting, it's like there's so much work ahead of time that goes into being successful, and
Mhm.
this right here, like, that portion right there is, I think, where you're gonna find out if you really like this or not. And if you don't, that's fine. Like, hunting isn't for everybody at all, but I hope what people walk away with, even if they end up not being a hunter, is that they can relate to seeing, like, guys being consistently successful and realize, "Wow, like, that like, I know how much I have a little bit of taste of how much work goes into that, and it's not just going out you're not just going out and killing animals, it is not a grocery shopping trip, you
No,
know?
it is not.
It is an event, you know?
Mhm.
And there's been so many hunts where I've gone on where I've walked out empty-handed, but I still have a smile on my face because I know that I tried 100% from the first day to the last day, and
Right.
I feel like if you don't do that, you're always asking yourself why. Like, how could I have done, you know what I mean? Like, I didn't really try my hardest. What if I would've,
Sure.
blah, blah, blah. I don't like that, dude. I wanna know, like, that I tried my hardest. If you have a week to hunt, you should hunt a week.
Mhm.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
Like, a lot of people that's the other thing that happens with a lot of newcomers is they'll go home early because they're
Right.
discouraged, you know? And
Absolutely.
it's like, "Man, dude, this is just how things are." You
Right.
need to, go back to basics, okay? Like, I think what people really get in their heads about is out here in the West, at least, glassing is very, popular. People do lots
Right.
of glassing for animals out here. What a lot of people fail to do, though, on top of that, though, is actually look for sign,
Mhm.
okay? Like, they're, like, actually looking for let's say you're hunting deer. Okay, well, where's deer scat? Where's deer tracks? Are you finding rubs? You know what I mean? Are you finding beds? Like, all of these things, like, this is part of being a hunter, and it's not just about seeing,
Right.
right?
A lot of people just wanna sit on a hill, eat a
Yeah,
sandwich, and look through binoculars for 4 hours.
which
Right?
I'm a big
Uh,
fan, okay?
right, right.
But I think there's some work that needs to be done ahead of that, you know,
Sure.
to kinda narrow down your areas, and I think that that right there is what separates, the people that are consistently successful from the people that aren't, you
Right.
know? And
100%.
and you know what, man? There's a lot of folks out there that, like, I got a neighbor down the street. That dude, I think he's maybe killed, like, 1 elk as in his entire life, but he loves going hunting.
Right.
He keeps going, and I think that's awesome. I
That's
really do,
amazing.
and there's not a lot of people like that. You have to
Yeah,
really be okay with doing nothing.
sure.
You're right? Like, you have to be
Yeah.
comfortable doing like, just
Yeah.
existing in the woods.
Yep.
And I
Yeah,
think
yeah,
that's
but
hard for a lot of folks to do.
yeah, I think look, from my perspective, I live in an urban environment, obviously.
Mhm,
Part of the allure of hunting for me, obviously wanna take an animal. I wanna bring, some healthy meat to my family.
mhm,
Ultimately, I just wanna be out in the woods. Like,
yeah,
that's number 1 for me because there's a certain peace where if you haven't done it in a while or since you were a kid, when you're out there, the tranquility, you can hear the wind, you can smell nature. For us here that are city dwellers, it's completely transformative. Like
mhm,
I go out for 3 or 4 days or even 5 days every now and again to do a hunt, and I come back completely recharged, whether I took an animal or not. So I think a lot of folks, like, that part of doing nothing is the
mhm.
part that they're gonna enjoy the most.
100%,
Um,
man.
yeah, so that it's almost a religious experience for me when I go out in nature. It's because we're so stuck, like, I'm in SoCal. It's traffic, there's noise, there's, ambulances driving around all the time. I'm stuck in traffic picking up one kid, going to another. I don't have any time to sit and be. And then
Mhm.
all of a sudden, you get out in nature and it's like, wow, like this is real life. We live in like bullshit land, you know?
Yeah, and you know what? It takes a little bit, man. Even like myself, like, usually, like, the first 2 days on a hunt, I have to kinda reel myself in because in
Mhm.
my mind, I'm still like what you were talking about. It's like, "Okay, I gotta go over here, I gotta go this, I
Yeah,
gotta do
yeah,
that, I
yeah.
gotta do this." And you have to slow down, and I think that's a key, for newer hunters that they wanna get out there and really try their hand at this, is you really need to be able to take a breath, take a step back, and realize that things move much slower
Right. Right.
in
In nature.
in the mountains
Yeah.
than
Yeah.
they do in the city. You know, like
100%.
like, I remember I think a prime example of this is, like, I don't know how many times this is happening, but I'm just, like, stalking a buck with my bow, and you get into a staring match,
Mhm.
and you realize, "Wow, this deer does not have anywhere to
Uh,
be."
yeah, yeah.
He will sit like,
Hey,
you could be 10 minutes, he's just gonna stare at you
sit there.
until he
Yeah.
busts you. You know what I
Right.
mean? Or until he decides that you're not a threat, right?
Sure.
So, just a prime example, like, they don't have a dentist appointment, right?
Right. Right. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So, so yeah, the patient side of things is something that I think you learn patience really well in 2 things. Y If you really embrace hunting and if you're a parent,
Yeah, that's right. I was about to say parenthood.
okay?
It's gonna yeah, that's right. That's right. I agree
Yeah.
with those 2 things wholeheartedly. What do you say to guys that, or gals for that matter, who are, in an urban environment, this is kind of on their bucket list or checklist of things to try. Obviously, even having read your book, if you've never been out hunting, this is not something you should just go out and do. There's certain things you got to know, even when you get a head start with your book. What's the best way to break in? Would you recommend going on a guided trip if you can afford it? Would you recommend, what? Well, I don't want to put words in your mouth. What would you do?
Yeah, so I think that, um, having some type of mentorship is massive. Like, if you can have that, whether that is through a guide, like you said, or, even if you just have a friend that's a dedicated hunter that does this a lot and they can kinda show you the ropes, I think you should absolutely take advantage of that. If you have the funds to, book a guide, I think you should do it because you're gonna learn so much just about the motions of hunting. You're gonna learn how to find animals and stuff like that, but you'll learn routine as well. Right? And, like, stuff like, "Oh, man, we have to get up at 3 o'clock in the morning to make it to this certain spot in the morning." You know what I mean? Like, and how to do all that, right? How to operate on a lack of sleep and stuff. Um, but you know what, man? If you don't have that, there's nothing wrong with, like, if you don't have some type of resource, I think what you should do is, a great avenue is one, maybe go hang out at the archery shops in your area, go kinda talk to people and try to meet some folks and, spitball with them. Aside from that, though, I think you should start small and maybe go out for a morning. Right?
Right.
Like maybe pick, "Oh, I'm at this trail makes a loop here. I'm gonna
Hmm.
hike this trail with my binoculars, hang out for the morning, maybe make a cup of
Sure.
coffee, do that, and then come back and start there." Right?
Right.
Like, one thing that I had to deal with when I was first starting out was when I was a kid, I was always taught that, you don't go hunting alone.
Hmm.
And I kinda got to the point where I was like, "Well, it's either go hunting alone or I'm not going hunting,
Right.
at
Right.
least not as much as I want to,
Sure.
So, on that note, there's nothing wrong with going out by yourself. I went out alone a lot by myself in the beginning because I just had a unique schedule and I just like I could even
No one's gonna tag along, right?
right,
Yeah. Yeah.
exactly,
Yeah.
or maybe
Yeah.
they didn't want to. Maybe they didn't wanna
Sure.
go as much as me, right? So,
Yep.
um So I would go out and I remember, like, back in the day, dude, before we had, like, inReaches, I would draw my wife maps
Oh
on,
my
like, a
god.
sticky note or something
You're a
and let her know
lunatic,
where
dude.
I'm parking. I'd leave a note at my truck
Oh my
on
god.
paper, like, this is before we had these, like,
Yeah.
awesome
Yeah.
Garmins and stuff, and I would just go out there and spend the day, man. Like, no time is wasted time out there. Like, if you're going out and you wanna learn about something, go learn about something. Go to the library, and if you wanna be a mule deer hunter, go to the library and look at what mule deer eat in your state. If you have
Right.
mule deer in your state, go look at that, and then go find that stuff. Like, this is
Right.
all part of, like, the learning
Sure.
process, right? And
Sure.
then on the e so on the I wanna back up a second here on the mentorship side of things. Even if you don't have a tag, if your friend has a tag that's, like, more experienced, you should go with him or
Tag
her.
along, no pun intended, right?
And yeah, exactly, and just be there and experience that and kinda see how things go. I have a friend, great friend, new bear hunter, okay, reached out to me a couple years ago, we've become great friends. That's how he started here. His neighbor had an elk tag, and he's like, "Oh, do you mind if I just come along?" "Sure." He's done that several times. Like, with me, it's like like, every time he comes out with me now I tell him he's ridiculous for thinking this, but when he comes out with me, he's like, "No, no." He's like, "I'm just here to learn, like, you get the first shot." I'm like, "Get out of here, dude. If you see a bear, like, like, that's your bear." But those are the things that you should do, man. It's think you just think of it like an apprenticeship. You know what I mean? You're, like, just going and being and seeing how things work.
Sure. Sure. So, um, what are some of the sketchiest situations you've been in out there alone? I mean, like, look, right now with all the satellite phones and stuff, you're never really alone, but yeah,
Mhm.
if God forbid something happens, you're alone until help comes. But, what are some of the more challenging situations you've been in or sketchy out there by yourself?
I remember one time, so I wasn't by myself, but it was definitely sketchy. So when I killed my first bear, the pack out of that bear was absolutely out of control. It was like there was 9 other bears walking around when we were down in the canyon. Had like one dude just sitting there with a rifle waiting, right? Just kind of on guard.
Right.
We get this bear all taken care of. In the process, I almost cut my thumb off, uh,
Oh,
with
yeah,
with
that's in your
with
book,
the
I think. Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
the pack out was we were, like, leapfrogging bear parts up a cliff, a
Oh my god.
legitimate cliff, not
Alright.
like a steep hill, a cliff, and, like, the way that we got my backpack up that cliff was with a rope. Like, we tied the backpack to a rope and, like, heave-hoed that thing from the top and got it up to the top of the cliff. There's been other times where, like, like gnarly lightning storms that I've been in. I shot a mule deer one time in a crazy lightning hailstorm in Colorado. That was cool. There's one time when I was in the backcountry solo, and something came up and sniffed my head
Oh
in the
my
middle of the night,
god.
and,
Oh
like,
man.
I was laying there, and it was kind of a warm night, so I had the vestibule of my tent open to get some
Oh
air,
my god.
and, like, I was pretty comfortable at that point in the backcountry alone, but, like,
Sure.
I woke up and I heard, something
Ugh,
breathe on my head, you know?
that would
And it's
freak
like
me
this,
out,
like,
man.
one-man tent, so it's like whatever it was right
Mm,
there, you know?
yeah. Yeah.
And, so I just, like, calmly, like, I was like, "Okay, here this is that thing that I've been
Worried about. Yeah.
somewhat worried about for
Yeah.
years, thinking it's a bear." Grab my handgun, I start looking out the tent. It was a full moon, so I could just see,
Sure.
and then I hear, "Wow, wow," which was a
Oh.
which was a fox.
Oh, it was a
He just
fox?
Yeah,
Ah.
he just
Uh,
ran into my tent, and I startled him. Once I heard
you
that
got
noise, I was like, "I'm going to bed." So I
man,
just went back to sleep.
thank God.
Yeah, yeah, I don't know, I predator called in some bears that charged me, elk hunting. I called in a giant blonde bear one time, left my brother absolutely like he saw a ghost, couldn't speak for like an hour. But nothing too
That's a
crazy though, I don't think.
yeah, yeah, it's all good fun. Uh, it's just sometimes you get in those situations and, you're like, "Oh shit, that was a close one."
A couple years ago, um, we were in Idaho, and, I had just shot a bear and got him taken care of at, like, I think it was about 7:30 PM, and we had probably a 4 or 5 hour hike left to get back to camp, and we're going up this steep face, and it's pitch black, and there's a little bit of snow that's towards the top of the mountain, and a freaking avalanche happened right next to us.
Oh shit. So it
So
was
we're
like
like
a yeah, yeah, I got you.
Yeah, yeah, we're, like, on this spine, we're walking up the spine, and the chute to our right, we just hear
Oh my god.
and it just gets louder and louder, we're like, "Whoa, what the heck is that?" And we look, and there's, like, kinda, like, smoke or whatever,
Right.
dust,
Dust.
in the air, and it was an avalanche, but I was like, "Oh my god, dude, what if we were, like, right there? That would've been gnarly, man." So,
Oh, man. Yeah, you gotta be careful out there. Although those are things that
100%.
you can't measure or protect
Nope.
yourself from, it's just part of it. What are some of the mistakes that, like, you made, like, early on that, like, make you cringe now or helps you grow into a better hunter? Or, what would you tell folks not to do that you did and learned the hard way?
I think that, a couple things, and I've said this stuff before, but, like, I think a common mistake that I've been guilty of is in the beginning, like, biting off too much than you can chew.
Mhm.
So what I mean by that is, and everyone's built a little different, okay? So some people might be able to do this, but I think for the majority, it's not a good idea. I think if you go right off the bat and you sign up for a 10-day backpack hunt before you've ever been on a backpack hunt at all, I don't think that's a great idea.
Right.
I think you're setting yourself up for, um, I don't wanna say failure, but, like, y you're not I doubt you're gonna stay the entire time,
Right. Right.
and then when you get home, you're gonna feel bad about it.
Sure.
You're gonna wish you
Because you didn't
did.
finish it out. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think a better approach in that regard is to, "Oh, I wanna be able to work my way up to 10 days into backcountry." Well, go out for one first.
Right.
If you've
Yeah.
never done that, try that,
Yeah.
see how that works. Maybe you don't even like backpack hunting, then
Right.
maybe you find that out. I don't think 10
Right.
days is a great place to find that out.
Find that
'Cause
out,
you
yeah.
because you're gonna be miserable. You're not familiar with emotions of things. Um, and so the other thing, which is somewhat related to that, is not trusting the process and having confidence in yourself and knowing the value of just being out there rather than going home. So what this really all boils down to is going home early, right? Like, there is value in just even if you don't know what to do. Like, "Oh, I'm dumbfounded, I don't know where these deer are, blah, blah, blah." Well, just go sit on a hill over here and just, hang out for a couple hours, right? Doing that is more valuable than deciding, "You know what? I'm gonna head home. I don't know what I'm doing out here." You know, and a prime example of that, that I constantly go back to is I had been bear hunting, in my earlier years, I had been bear hunting for about 8 days, and I was by myself, and I'm talking to my wife, and I'm like, "Yeah, I think I'm gonna come home. I hadn't seen one bear." And she's like, "You don't have anything else to
Just
do."
to do, yeah.
And I'm like, "Oh,
uh,
okay, well, alright." So I went down the way and just didn't have a plan. I just found a rock, sat on the rock, and like an hour later, I saw a mountain lion try to kill a coos deer. And I had a
wow,
mountain lion tag, and I ended up shooting my first mountain lion.
wow,
So,
that's
like,
pretty wild stuff. Yeah,
that was the first big game animal I had ever killed by myself.
wow, that is
And
a
I
big
couldn't
animal too. Yeah.
and I couldn't get anyone to come help me track
Oh
it.
my god.
Turned out it wasn't dead. I
Oh my god.
Yeah, I had never blood trailed an animal by myself before. So I just went over there, and this is one of those, it was a canyon, um, where it was very cliffy, so you couldn't just, like, walk across it, so I had to make this big giant loop to get on the other side to where the lion was, and then start finding blood, and I'm like, "Oh my gosh, I did it. I found blood," you know? And then I'm going up, I'm working up slowly, and I look up ahead of me, and I see a tail, and he was still alive laying there underneath a tree 50 yards away from me, with his back turned. He didn't know I was there. I had never seen a mountain lion before. So I sat there and kinda looked at him for a little bit, and then I shot him again, and he died. He was dead within seconds. But, that all never would have happened if I would've just been like, "You know what? Cheeseburger sounds great right now. I'm sick of eating out of a bag." Like, that would have never happened. I learned a lot on that hunt. I learned the value of good gear. I went into that hunt and a lot of my earlier hunts with, like, a very, very subpar backpack that I said, "Oh, yeah, I'm gonna pack game out with this." Dude, there was no way. I dragged that mountain lion 3 miles
Oh my
be
god.
because I didn't have adequate equipment,
Right.
okay? And I got the burn marks on the hide to prove it, okay?
Wow.
His shoulders are
And
completely furless because I drug him, So, like, I think there's value there too, Like, I think that some of this stuff is very expensive, this hunting equipment, and I think that some people look at it and they go, "Oh, there's no way I'm gonna spend X amount of dollars on that or whatever." And it's like, dude, I'm not like, you really don't know how valuable this stuff is. It's that expensive for a reason.
that's right. It's like ski gear, you could get the cheap stuff on Amazon, and then you go up there and you're freezing your ass off. Hunting is the same way. Like, okay, it looks the same, but it's not the same. Um, so let me ask you this. So in here in this, like with amongst my friends, who really don't do any of this stuff, I'm like one of the only ones. There's like, um, it's kind of taboo, right? I mean, I grew up in rural Nevada, so hunting was always part of my mom's side of the family, fishing, outdoorsmanship, and but for a lot of my folks on my dad's side and my friends that are in SoCal, they don't understand. They're like, oh, you're gonna kill the animal, and like I'm like, well, we kill the animal because we eat it, and I think it's healthier than the meat that we get at the grocery store. And most hunters are conservationists anyway because they're helping the fishing game keep things in track. But when it comes to like a mountain lion, I think certainly I understand. But how would you explain to someone who doesn't, hunting an animal that you're probably not going to eat? Because I'm sure you eat the bear. In fact, I've seen you eat the black bear. I want to ask you about that because I heard they're not the best eating. But to my first question, when you're talking about a mountain lion, when you're hunting a predator. What's your take on that?
I eat every bit of the lion.
Do you really?
Yeah, my family
No
loves it.
shit. No
Yeah,
shit.
yeah.
Oh my god, I had no
Black bear
idea. So
black bear is one of the prime meats in my house.
yeah, if I looked on your Instagram and I saw you had different ways of cooking it. So you enjoy the black bear?
100%, dude.
Yeah,
100%.
yeah.
Um, it shines better, and this is just through experience, but, like, it shines better in certain dishes than others. Like, one that I don't think it's great as steak. I don't think it's
Mhm,
great as steak, but as something like fajita,
mhm.
it's great. Anything
Interesting.
slow cooked, great. Green chili shredded bear, bear stew, bear
Right, right.
chili, bear tacos, like, all of that, like, we make bear spaghetti, bear meatballs, all that stuff, bear burgers,
Sure.
like,
Wow.
all of that is really good.
Is your wife a
Um,
good cook?
I
Or are
I
you
mean,
the
I think she is. She cooks it way better than I do.
Yeah, I do, yeah. You better say that anyway.
And the same thing with the lion. The
Yeah.
lion, like, I just killed a lion last year, my 2nd one, and I couldn't believe, like, it had been so long since I tasted it, but I could not believe how good it was. We still have some, and it's, like, it's unbelievable. Like, you would not, if I served it to you and I didn't tell you what it was, you would not question, you wouldn't be like, "What is this?" Like, you would not, there's no weirdness at all to it. So, um, for me, like, kinda getting back to what you're asking, I don't I'm not a guy that kills stuff that I don't eat. I realize that that needs to be done, like, with coyotes and stuff, they need to be managed, I understand that. I'm just not the guy to do it. Like, like, I'm just,
I'm with
it's
you.
just not for me. I got friends that love coyote hunting. I support them. I just don't
Sure.
wanna do it. I
Yeah, me
you know what
neither.
I mean? So, I just think there's something so much more gratifying, and I don't feel like I'm wasting something when I go out and I shoot a deer or elk or a bear or whatever,
Mhm.
and I bring it home, and you get that, like, full circle experience of, like, sitting down and I'm looking at the antlers on the wall, like, I got the backstrap in front of
Right,
me, like, that's cool. That's really awesome, and I get to tell my daughter, you know, the story of that, like,
right.
my kid, she and you don't realize this until, like, kids say the darndest things, right? But, like,
Sure.
the first she didn't know that you ate cows.
Right. No, same with my kids. There's a separation between what they saw on their books and,
Yeah,
like, and their toy cow and then what we're eating for dinner.
yeah,
Um
like, what I mean by that, Josh, is, like, she thought that what you eat is what daddy goes and shoots.
Oh, my bad. I'm coming from a different angle. Oh, I see.
Yeah,
So
no,
you're
yeah, I
actually
understand
yeah,
what
yeah,
angle you're
yeah,
coming
yeah,
from.
yeah, 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 yeah.
She is like, she
On
goes,
the other side of the
"What?"
spectrum where yeah,
She's like,
yeah,
"What is this?" And if you
yeah.
say it's beef, she goes, "Mm," and she won't eat
Ah,
it.
yeah.
But if I say it's bear or deer, this kid absolutely crushes venison steak
Oh, dude, that's amazing. Well,
because
listen, I mean
that's what she grew up with. That's all she's ever known,
mhm, mhm. Right,
So
right.
it was just very interesting for me that, like, she didn't make that connection. Oh, you buy cow beef from the store and that's what you eat.
Sure.
To her, meat was what daddy brought home in a cooler.
Makes sense. Yeah, that's her reality. I mean, for me, it's the opposite. For me, it was the opposite. Back to my kids didn't understand that we had to kill animals to eat, and I think that's a danger too because I was watching one of your videos. I don't know if it was a deer that you took, and then you sat down, you thanked the animal, um, and there's a process to that that's very human, right? And so when I did the same thing when the elk that's over the shoulder here or whatever shoulder it is. You walk up to the animal, you thank the animal for its sacrifice, and then you take that animal in and you're eating it. Every meal you have after that for a long time, not just when you're eating the elk that I took or the bear that you did or whatever it was, every meal you have where you're eating protein is framed differently. And so like it's almost a shame that it's not a requirement to hunt or to be on a hunt or to watch someone hunt and take an animal or watch a cow get slaughtered before you eat, because the human element of the process has been removed. And so my son's 8 years old. I mean, I'm going to wait a few more years to bring him on a hunt just physically so he can keep up.
Sure.
That's the first lesson I want him to understand is like we are taking from nature something. We appreciate it. We respect it.
Yep.
It's going to nourish us. And the next time you go and order food at a restaurant, like don't waste it. Like that
Yep.
something died for you to eat. And so, a lot of people don't understand that part of hunting where you're inching closer to the human process of eating an animal. It's not the other
Yeah.
way around. And so I thought that scene you had, and I think it was a movie or a preview. I thought it was beautiful and really kind of underscores what hunters do out in the wild. We're not just going out there with machine guns and like mowing down
Mhm.
animals. It's much more intimate and almost spiritual. Yeah,
Dude, I mean, I'm perfectly comfortable with this, but I've shed lots of tears over animals,
sure.
It's just but that the amount of effort that it takes and the fact that Mother Nature does not care about you,
Right.
okay? Mother Nature doesn't care that Josh Kirchner's in the mountains.
Right.
My name doesn't mean anything out there.
Mm-mm.
Last year, dude, I spent 28 days in the field bear hunting in Arizona, and I got 0 bears,
Wow.
okay? I haven't had that. It was the worst fall bear season I've ever had.
Sure.
I saw every bear that I saw was preseason. I saw 1 bear during season, and it was for, like, 2 seconds, you know? So, just got my ass handed to me, which I you know what? I'm grateful for that because it keeps me grounded. Right? Lets you know that hey, you know what? Like, it doesn't like, you're not the one in charge here, buddy, you know? And no matter how many bears I've killed, no matter it doesn't matter. Like, things if Mother Nature decides to not cooperate with you, that's what's gonna happen, and there's nothing that you can do about it
You can do
except
about it. Yeah.
you just put your head down and keep going. On to
That's
the
right.
next one. But then, like, just this past, spring in Idaho, dude, I absolutely just broke down when I shot the bear that I got,
Mm.
because at that point, I had been gone almost 40 days from my family looking for trying to kill a
Wow.
bear,
Wow. That's
and
a long
I remember,
time, man.
like, I was filming a video for my kid, telling her that daddy just shot a bear, and I'd showed her what happened and everything, and when I stopped recording that, I just lost it,
Oh my god.
because that feeling for me, I was like is like and that's that right there, man, is just like that's that trust the process
Sure.
stuff.
Sure.
It's like, I've done this a lot, and you know what? There's sometimes where I'm like, "What do I know what I'm doing?"
Right.
You know? And
Yeah.
I think that that's one of the beautiful things about hunting, is you can get really, really good at it, but you're never, in my opinion, especially like bow hunting, you're never gonna master it.
Yeah, you guys are crazy. I don't bow hunt. I think you guys are too crazy. One of my best friends and my hunting buddies, the only other guy I know that we do this stuff with, his name is Fareed. He wants to go on a bow hunt, and he's and then he finally did it, and he came back. He's like, dude, that was the hardest thing I've ever done. Like, it is so hard. I'm
Yep,
like, no, I'm sticking with a rifle. Is that your weapon of choice? Do you bow hunt mostly, or do you rifle,
yeah.
or yeah,
I
but you're a
do
bow
I mean,
hunter
I hunt with both, but if you made me choose, like, I'm a bow hunter, like, that's just how I
sure,
think about things, and I'd say, you know, 75%, 80% of my hunts are archery hunts,
right,
and for me, it's like, for bears, a lot of times I pick up a rifle, um, because I think that in some areas, the rifle just makes more sense.
Right.
So,
In all areas, it makes more sense from my perspective,
n-
but you
well,
guys are
yeah.
nuts.
So there's so where I go, like, just to rewind a little bit,
Sure.
the spot I was bear hunting in Idaho, it's very, very. I mean, it's like Mordor, right? Like it's very, very cliffy. You can't just
Mordor.
walk there. There's some places you cannot walk, right?
Right.
So to bring a bow, which I've done, okay,
Mhm.
to bring a bow, it has to be a very specific scenario to
Sure.
be able to close the distance on that
Mhm.
bear with your bow. Whereas with a rifle, it's like to me, I look at that country and I'm like, oh, that's rifle country, right? But like here in Arizona, for instance, Arizona's different. Like we have a different landscape. There's not a whole lot of places I can't get to without effort here, right? So, so sometimes I cater the weapon I bring to that. Sometimes I'm like, well, you know what? I don't think it's practical to bring a bow on this one, unless I just feel like pulling my hair out for a week. You know what I mean? So I don't know. And sometimes if the freezer's full, sometimes I'm like, yeah, screw it. Let me just go see if I can do it. You know? And most of the time it ends up no arrows are launched, but it's always fun. So yeah,
What's your favorite place to hunt? I obviously home is Arizona for you, right?
Arizona.
Outside of so I was let me preface it because I'm sure you love your backyard more than anywhere. Outside of Arizona, where are some of the best hunts you've had and some of the most beautiful country or what's your favorite?
Oh, I mean, if we're talking beautiful country, goodness gracious, Colorado is absolutely stunning.
Yep.
Um, I haven't hunted in Nevada, but that's a gorgeous place too. I've driven through it quite a bit.
It's my home
Um,
state.
U Utah is beautiful, beautiful country. Lots of
Mhm.
diversity in Utah. You can have just like desert, red rock deserts and stuff, all the way to alpine type environments, with
Right.
jagged cliffs and stuff. It's really cool. Um, Idaho is probably, if I had to pick one out of all those, it'd probably be Idaho. Idaho's pretty awesome to me. It's like, in my opinion, it's the land of opportunity for the hunter.
Really?
Um, yeah,
Why'd you say that?
they're very, they're just very liberal with their tags. So, like, if you were to live in Idaho, it's just, like, absolutely ridiculous. So, people that live in Idaho, they get what's called the sportsman's package. They pay, like, $125, and they get, like, a bear tag, wolf tag, turkey tag, deer tag, elk tag, salmon permit, or, steelhead permit, like, all that.
Wow.
You know, like, the bears over there, like a non-resident bear tag in
I didn't know
Idaho.
that. Yeah.
No, it's wild, dude. A non-resident bear tag in Idaho. I got some Idaho friends. They might be screaming at me if they listen to this. But there's two different tags. You can get a reduced tag or a statewide tag. The statewide tag is like $240 or something like that, which is expensive but not bad. The the
Yeah.
the reduced tag is $40 for a non-resident,
Wow.
and you can buy
Really?
2. You can buy 2 of them.
Is that right?
So so
For a
to me, I'm like,
non-resident?
yes. So to me, I'm like,
Wow.
dude, they're dang near giving away the bears over there.
Wow.
So,
What's up?
yeah, if I had to
Yeah.
pick one, like, between all those, it'd probably be Idaho just 'cause I've hunted Idaho
Interesting.
quite a bit, so.
I didn't know that.
You can
How
also
hard
hunt
is it
mule
to
deer
get
during the rut with a rifle.
Oh, wow.
Unbelievable.
Unbelievable.
That's not allowed here.
Yeah,
If
yeah,
we
yeah.
if we let people hunt over the counter mule deer with a rifle in Arizona, we would run out of deer.
Sure.
It just
Wow.
but I think really what the reason behind that is because places like Idaho and Montana and Wyoming, these places, there's so much wild country
Right.
that it can support the population of animals, and it acts
Absolutely.
as a barrier,
Right, but it's hard
right?
to even get into some of those places too
That's
also,
what I'm
right?
saying. That
Yeah.
that that's
Yeah.
what I'm referring to, is that keeps a lot of the public out, which then it acts as a barrier and serves to the population of deer, right? In Arizona, yeah, there's a lot of roads here, okay, and like the country isn't. Yes, the country is not super inaccessible, so like people can get pretty much anywhere.
That's a good point. It's hard to hike up into those in Idaho, Wyoming. I mean, there's some gnarly country up there.
Anyone that's interested, the film I just released called Heart, it's a bear hunt in Idaho that I just released.
Okay.
Dude, I shot this bear. We were out of water, so we weren't even ready for this to happen. Okay, and we had to go back to camp. We had to do 800 feet in elevation just to get water.
Oh my god.
Then we had to go 1,000 feet up to the top of the ridge to reach the spine that led down to the bear. Okay, we had to do that. Once we got to that spine, we had to descend 2,000 feet to get to the bear. And
Oh
then we
my
had to
god.
repeat that in reverse to get back to camp. So we left camp at noon and we didn't get back to camp until 8:30 PM. That doesn't include the pack out to the truck, which was over
Truck, right?
5 miles
Wow.
and
You're out there.
2,500 vert. So, like
Jeez,
so
you're out
that's
there.
what I'm saying. So
Yeah.
there's there's definitely like a bit like there's plenty of people that are in shape out there to get
Yeah.
after it and do what they need to do. But even that right there, I think that right there is also a barrier for people that
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
I've seen newer hunters backpack into areas like this, and one, they're either so depleted by the time they get to camp that they don't have the go to actually hunt,
Get out there,
or
yeah.
they do go hunting and they see a bear or a deer, whatever they're hunting, and they talk themselves out of actually going for after it
Mhm.
because of maybe where the deer's at, or they come up with all these different excuses about, "Oh, I don't think he's gonna be there by the time they get there, blah, blah, blah," or just plain black and white, that looks gnarly, okay?
Yeah,
Like
no, it's not
yeah,
a joke to get down there in those ravines or elevation is the biggest humbling element when you're hiking out in the mountains. I mean, like you'll look down a hill and like, "Ah, I could get down that," and then you get to the bottom and you look back up and you're like, "Fuck, why did I come down here?" Like you know what I mean? Because it's misleading. And then you look up and you're like, "Dude, this is gonna kill me." So yeah, there are spots people shouldn't go. Even if you think you're in good shape, there's being in like city good shape, where you're like, I could run straight for 4 miles, and then there's mountain good shape where you have 40, 50, 60 pounds of gear on your back. There's no path. You're climbing, grade, and so it's a different animal, for sure. So don't start in the mountains or without a guide anyway. Do you guide, by the way? Have you
I
thought
do
about
not,
guiding?
no.
You know,
No,
you
I
don't want to
don't.
deal with it?
I've helped out on some guided trips, and it's just not for me. I'm
Yeah,
just not into it.
sure.
There's so much, variability in the client that you get.
Yeah, I bet.
Like, some people get real hung up on numbers, um, which everyone has their thing, but it's not my thing.
Right.
I'm not like so which then puts this, like, pressure to find, an animal with a certain amount of
Yep.
inches of antler on it, or the
Yeah, yeah.
person's gonna be upset, and to me, that's just not hunting. Um,
No,
Not for me. Like,
sure.
bless whoever's heart that wants to do that, that's
Yeah.
fine. Everyone hunts for different reasons, but it's not the reason that I hunt. It's just not enjoyable for me. So,
No, I appreciate that. I've gone with guides. I've only hunted with guides because I know what I don't know, and I'm smart enough to keep myself out of trouble. But I'm at a point now where I want to graduate to what you do. But when I've talked to guides, they're like, "Dude, you don't know some of the assholes we get out here." Like, to your point, I want this big if we don't see this many. I'm like, that's not the point. Right? The point is the journey to the animal. And if you didn't find one, the journey still happened. And that's the beauty of it. So that's you got to be your mentality, in my opinion.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. And that's, like some dudes are just they're just better at dealing with that than others. For me, I look at it and I'm like, why do I want to be dealing with this dude over here that's not an enjoyable person to be around, where I can go hunt for myself. You know what I mean? And that might sound selfish, but like one of them just makes me more happy. So
Sure.
why am I
No.
don't want to,
Yeah.
yeah,
If you're not gonna be good at something because your heart's not in it, there's no point.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. So that I mean, you'd be pretty good at the nuts and bolts of guiding, but there is a people management part of it that I
yes,
understand is not for everyone.
yes.
All right. Well, we're almost going to wrap here, but before we do, I want to give you a chance to kind of speak on some of your platforms and what you're working on, if you'd like. And I'm going to put all this in the show notes. I'll put a link to your book. I will put a link to your YouTube and your Instagram handle, which are all really great, especially the films that you're doing. I mean, it's like super high quality. But you share with us what you're working on now.
So my blog is still active to this day. I don't dialedinhunter.com. Like I don't post every single week or anything like that, but I still try to keep it updated so you can kind of, keep up to date with what I'm doing over there.
Sure.
Um, I still freelance write for a handful of companies. I write for Peterson's. I write for Bear Hunting Magazine, Gear Junkie. You can kind of find me if you just Google my name. You can find a lot of articles that I've written. And then as far as like projects go, I'm really trying to lean more into the film side of things. I just love telling stories visually like that, and I feel like I can really get across a message, which is really the goal with any film that I do. If you're somebody that's looking for whack 'em and stack 'em videos, don't go to my YouTube page. That's not me.
Right.
I I like telling a story and,
Hmm.
you know, letting somebody walk away with something more than a hunt that they just watched. At least that's the goal, right?
Got it.
So yeah, if you go to the YouTube channel, you can find all my films on there. I'm working on an elk hunt right now that I did last year. So look for that. That film Heart just came out, the Idaho backcountry bear hunt. And then I'll filming all my stuff this year. I have a Utah high country mule deer hunt that I'll be filming, a pronghorn hunt, archery in Idaho, rifle mule deer, archery elk in November for Arizona, and then I always film an archery coos deer hunt as well in Arizona in January. So all
No,
that
you're
stuff will
busy.
be coming out on my YouTube channel, and then in between there, I do try to throw out some auxiliary content like gear reviews and kind of
Mhm.
tips, little things here and there that I have learned just to try to share all that stuff with people out there. So
Right on,
that's what I
man.
got going on. And then you mentioned that book. I also have another book called Becoming a Bow Hunter, which is the same approach as becoming a backpack hunter, but it is just geared towards bow hunting. It's a from front to back look at bow hunting from you don't even have a bow yet until you shoot your first animal. So
Wow. That's gonna be a longer book. You bow hunters, man.
it is a
You
longer
guys
book. It is a bit
you're
longer than.
you're cut of a different cloth, but God bless you guys. It's fun. I mean, it looks fun, but man, it's like you gotta get so close and there's so many more variables, but,
Well, so Josh, here
eh,
I'll leave you with this on that, man. So one of the things that really sold me on bow hunting, because I was like you in the beginning, especially with bears. I'm like, it's got to be a nut job to bow hunt black bears. What are you talking about?
right.
Um, but I kind of got to the point where hunting with a rifle for bears in certain areas for me, um, my hunt would be over. And I'm not trying to toot my own horn here. I'm just
Sure.
being
No, I get it.
honest.
Yeah.
My hunt would be over in like 30 minutes. You know,
Yeah, I get that.
um, which is what really drew me to bow hunting because I was like, man, it kind of like where the rifle hunt ends, the bow hunt kind of begins. You may have heard that before, but there's just a lot more. You get more time in the field, which I like being out there. I like spending time in the field.
No, I don't mean to give you a hard time, but I'm just it's a challenge. That's a whole nother animal, and good
Oh
for you.
no, you
But
know what, man? On that note, like there's a lot of folks like bow hunting is cool right now. Okay, there's a lot of people buying bows, especially because of like tack events and stuff. They're going that, which is a whole movement in itself. I think there's people that just go to tack events and they're not even hunters. They just like shooting 3D, which is fine. But but I've had quite a few people reach out to me that like they want to get into bow hunting first, and I'm like, on one hand, I'm like, oh, well, I mean, you gotta do what you wanna do. You gotta do what makes you happy, but listen, man, like, bow bow hunting is really, really hard, and I think that if you're open to it, you should take advantage of rifle hunting at least for a few years so you can kinda try to learn the ropes, like, you can kinda use that as a vessel, like, knowing how to take care of an animal and knowing how to pack it out, cut it up, and just all that stuff, that whole, like, full circle thing that we talked about, that's a process, and if you're signing up to be a bow hunter right off the bat, I promise you, unless you're hunting, in Texas over a feeder or something like that, you are not gonna experience that, in short order. Like
no, no, that's a big hill to climb there.
yeah, which if you want but if you're up for it, if you wanna do that, then you gotta do that.
Yeah.
But I'm saying for people
Maybe
that
I'll
are
come
open to
tag along
rifle
with you
hunting,
once.
yeah,
Yeah.
be a rifle hunter and use that to
Yeah.
learn.
All right, man. Well, dude, thanks so much for your time. Again, learned a lot. Love your book.
Thanks, man.
Keep doing what you're doing. You're doing good work, and I'm going to follow you along and watch all these movies and films because they're really well done, man. I mean, it's
I
just
appreciate it. Appreciate that,
I
man.
can tell the effort you're putting into it to put this together on a mountain. It's not easy work, but keep it up. We'll stay in touch, and good luck out there.
Alright, thanks, man.
All right, bud. Thanks for walking the last easy mile with me. If something in today's episode moved you, good. That means there's still something alive in you worth pursuing. But don't let it end here. Send the message, try the thing, start the shift. If this episode helped, like, subscribe, and share with someone else who might be feeling stuck. You never know who needs to hear exactly this. I'm Josh Farahi. Until next time, keep walking.